All right. Thank you. All right, good evening and welcome back to our channel. If it's your first time here, kindly like and subscribe to this channel so that you can get more videos on data analytics using Microsoft Excel. So today we are going to be looking at something that is very, very important when it comes to data analysis in Excel. And what is that? I'm talking about pivot table analysis. Okay, now in our previous classes, we've learned how to convert um, data into a table by just pressing Control T and OK. So our data gets converted into a table. And from there, we can do a lot like sort and filter. Let's say I want to sort this alphabetically, it's going to sort. Okay, you can also apply filter. Now, pivot table provides a faster and smarter way to analyze data, especially when the data points you're looking at are so many, okay? You can just subject it to pivot table analysis. And in pivot table, you analyze using tables as well as charts, just like we did in the last class where we are trying to plot graphs. Now in pivot table, we also plot chart, but the kind of chart here is called pivot charts. So quickly, if you look at this, you see that this is like sales record for a particular company. You can see products, you see salesperson, region. Remember, I can always expand. Okay, salesperson, products, and all. Now, there are lots of analysis that can be done here. Maybe we want to look at sales by region or sales by products. All right. The usual thing you could have done is you filter only a particular region, okay, or you filter a particular product. But away from that, you can use pivot table analysis to analyze data of such. Now, how do we apply pivot table? Very quickly from the insert. Yeah, every form of graphing and table work is usually from insert. Now, on the left side, you see two options, pivot table, and then you have recommended pivot table. Let's start with the recommended pivot table. Now, if you click on it, Excel will automatically highlight your entire data, and then it's going to provide some options here. You can see some of sales by region, some of units by region, and others. Let's say I like this analysis that has been done automatically. I just double click on it. Now, it will take us to a new sheet. And in this new sheet, this is like the pivot table analysis we're talking about. See, it has been summarized. These are the regions, central, north, and west. And you can see the sum of sales by each of these regions. I can also go back to my data, go back to insert, recommended charts, pivot table. You see sum of units by region. Remember, this is not sales, but units. The first pivot table is sales. The second is by units, all right? Now, what if I have a particular way I want to analyze the data myself and I want to create a pivot table from scratch? What do? So from insert, you click on pivot table. Now, it's going to select the entire data for you. Or you can also start by firstly highlighting the entire data area. And then you click on insert, then select pivot table. It's asking you, these are just options that's going to be called table 1 and it's going on a new sheet. Yes, please always create your pivot tables on a new sheet. It's easier to work on it there. So okay. Now this is the pivot table sheet. On the right, you can see pivot table field. Now, you ask yourself, what kind of analysis do I want to check? Maybe I want to look at products. So I will just click on products, drag it to row. Now it's going to list all products available. Now, what do I want to find out about this product? I want to find out the sales of these products. I will click on sales, drag it to value. All right. Now, what we have here now is all products sold and the sum of sales for each particular product. Okay. You can, yeah, so this is one analysis here. Now, let me go back to my original data. Again, insert pivot table. I'm going to do something. Let's stay on this same one we've done. Now, this is an analysis. I can create a graph for this by simply coming to, once you're in a pivot table, you see that the analyze is active here. Come to the analyze. Then from here, you can see pivot charts. As usual, it's going to recommend a chart for you. Maybe I like this one. I can go to more templates, maybe a 3D template like this. And okay. So this is how the product sold out by products. This is the sum of sale by product. You can see that ice cream sold highest. Can come to this chart element and maybe add data label so that you see the particular amount that was sold. Now, on these pivot charts, you see some of these buttons here. These buttons, you can also use them to filter the graph. But since we don't really need them, all I'm going to do is I will right click there, and then I'm going to click on hide all field buttons on charts. Yeah. So we just have a chart here. All right, so I'm going to cut this chart to maybe create a new sheet and just paste it here. Maybe this sheet is just going to be for charts. All right. Then I will come back here. Maybe I want to adjust this a little more. Let's say region. What if I bring my region to rows? Now it has separated the products by their region. So for yogurt, this is the amount of yogurt sold in each of the 3 regions. And you can see the total, always giving you the total sum here. And this is also another form of analysis. What if I want to remove products and just keep only region on the pivot table? I just click on products, you see remove field. Now it's back. Now this is sales by region. I can also plot a graph with this by coming to analyze. You see pivot charts. Maybe I want a pie chart this time. I'll click on pie. Yes. And then I'll get a pie chart. Let me cut it to the new sheet you have created. Yes. Oh, did you see what happened? It has adjusted the data because you have changed the pivot table charts. In our subsequent class, we'll be looking at what we call dashboard, an interactive dashboard. So this chart here is interactive, interacting with the pivot table. So that means we need to create a new sheet for each form of analysis we are doing with the pivot table. By coming back to the original data, go to insert again, insert pivot table. Okay. Now here, let's say we want to analyze by unit sold. Okay, products, but by unit sold. So products comes to row, and again, unit sold goes to value. So this is a different analysis here where you're analyzing just products and the total units sold. All right. So from analyze, you see insert charts. You select a chart type that you like and okay. So now I will cut it. I'm cutting with Ctrl X to this place here. As you can see, this one did not change because the new chart that is coming in is from a new sheet. Again, remember to hide the field buttons by right-clicking on one of the field buttons and then hide all field buttons. Now, from send data, we have different total. So this one is by region. I'm going to title it region. Why this is by what? Okay, products. So this is products by units sold. Why this one is just region and sales by region. So I'll call this one sales by region. Now we'll have 2 different charts here from the same data, okay, saying different things. So if you look at sales by region, you find out that West is having the highest amount of sales, okay? Then when you come to products sold, you see that ice cream is having the highest. Now, let's adjust it a little more. Now, we have this. Okay. The pivots pane is out. How do we bring that out? You come to analyze. Okay. Field, yeah. So you click on field lists in case this pivot chart tab goes off. So from analyze, you click on field list. Now I want to adjust this a little more. Let's say I want to show products as well as region. So I will click on products. Now it's going to adjust it further. You see central, then you see the product for north, the product and all that. Let's try to apply a chart and see what it looks like. Okay. Now it's just splitting the chart into 3 parts. You can see we have central, we have north, we have west. This is more like 3-in-1 charts. As you can see, on the average, you find out that more products were sold in the West. However, because of this significant sale, ice cream is still standing out among all other sales. All right, so that is it with this kind of data. Can also move further to payroll. All right, I think we've been working with payroll. Now, let's see what pivot analysis can be done to a payroll. Even without converting it to a table, you can always highlight the data and then come to your insert. You have pivot table. And okay, now we'll have so many things we can work with here. Let's say we want to analyze this data by department. So I'll bring departments to row. You can see different departments. Then what are we looking at? Maybe we're looking at their gross pays. I'll bring gross pay to value. Can you see that? It has summarized this data for us for different departments and their gross pay. So can insert a chart to that, any kind of chart that you prefer. Even if it's a column or a pie chart, okay? All right, so you can insert a chart. Away from that, let's say we want to look at the gross pay and their hourly rates. So I'll still bring hourly rates to value. Now, it's always good for you to put all numerical columns to the value, okay? While the strings, that is text data field, stays in either row or column, all right? Let's try to put something in row. Let's say date of hiring. Let's try to put it in row and see what happens. Okay, this is not a fine analysis. I'm going to move it back. So I'm going to put date of hiring in row so that it should be able to split it. All right. Now, can you see for each different departments, you can see their date of hiring from 1999 to 2011. Okay. Then research also. So it all depends on the kind of analysis. And at the end, you're seeing the grand total of the entire data set. What if I just want to look at dates and their gross pay? So I can come back here, delete my department. Now I can see different dates of hiring and the gross pay. All right. I can plot a graph of gross pay and hourly rates because the gross pay is definitely going to be higher. So let me remove hourly rates. Okay. So we'll have dates hired and gross pay. So I can come to analyze, insert a pivot chart to it. You can see. Now looking at this chart, obviously you can see that 2006 has the highest gross pay, and that is closely followed by 2007. So this is why it's good to visualize data. I didn't really look at these data points here to find out which one is highest, but by looking at this pivot chart, which is as a result of the pivot table, can be able to deduce which data points or which year we had the highest sales. Now, leaving this graph here, if I come back to this place and adjust my pivot field, it's going to affect this graph. For instance, what if I change from years now? Okay, let me remove years of hire. Remove. Okay. Now let's say I want to analyze it by just oh, okay. Back to the data, please. Let's say I want to analyze by HRS. Okay, no, not HRS. By Ben. Okay. Now can you see that this chart has adjusted following the new pivots analysis? If I change this to departments, let's say bring department to this place, it's also going to adjust it again, splitting into different departments, okay? What if I add division? Again, it will still adjust it. So for each extra points of analysis you add, the data is going to adjust. So this is just division, okay? Division here now we are looking at the cities, California, Georgia, New Jersey, Washington. So this is the sum of gross pay for each of these regions. So the most important thing for you to understand in pivot table analysis is it provides a faster way of summarizing large amounts of data, all right? Now, it doesn't matter how many rows or how many columns, especially the number of rows for these data points. Once you subject it to pivot table analysis, it's not going to be more than 4 rows because this category is looking at is just 4. All it's going to do is it's going to take the sum for each particular variable and then put it up in a simple table. Remember, you can also copy this table, okay? Right click and copy with Control C. Now, I think I was pasting here. Let's say I want to create here. Now, as trying to paste, right click, you're going to see different paste options. First one is paste. Now, I don't want to paste it as a pivot table. I just want to paste it as ordinary number. So I'll use this one here, which is value. Just paste value without format. All right. Good. So this one now is out of the pivot table. It's just giving the values without format. Okay. All right. So okay, we still have another data here, which is very big data. As you can see, we have how many rows? This one is a very big data here, about 644 rows, okay, with different categories. I think we have electronics and this, sales, revenue. So yeah, even subsidiary, Italy. Do you have any other one? Okay, Germany. So in this kind of data, let's say this is like sales for a company that is based in about 3 different countries here. Now, you want to analyze sales. You can analyze by subsidiary, which is by country, and analyze by products, that is electric and electronic category, or by sales volume, or even by months, as you can see, or by year, all right? So what do? I just have to come to insert and click on pivot table so that I can subject this to a pivot table. Now, the first I want to analyze is by country. So I will click on country and bring it to row. And what do I want to look at? I can look at the sales volume, bring it to value, and sales revenue to value also. Yes. So, okay, before then, let's just look at sales volume so that if I insert a chart from analyze, pivot charts, and okay, quickly you can see that from that big data, Italy has the highest number of revenue. Can you see that now? Very fast. We didn't have to do much of analysis. You just subject to pivot table analysis and then get a category and plot a graph. So I'm going to click on this, right click on these buttons and hide field button. So this one here is, I'm going to name this, this is like sales by country. All right. So Control X, I'm putting them in sheet 10. Maybe come somewhere here and paste it. Remember I said if you go back to this same place to adjust, it's going to affect the one you've plotted. So the best thing to do is you go back to the original data, okay, which is this. Again, we'll go to insert. Let's check recommended pivot table. You're going to see some recommendations. Sum of sales revenue, sum of sales volume, and all. Okay, so what I'm going to use my own pivot table. So pivot table, okay. So for each pivot table, it's going to be creating new sheets. Now, let's say this time around, I want to analyze by product, which is electrical and electronic category. So you can see all appliances here. Maybe I want to look at sales volume for these appliances. I'll click on sales volume and put it in value. All right, so this I just want to keep as a table. So I will highlight it as it is, copy with Control C, come to my sheet 10 where I'm pasting results, and just somewhere here, remember I'm going to paste, right click and paste as just number. Yes, this number does not come. This is how the usual paste is supposed to look, to still look like a pivot chart, but I don't want that. I just want to paste it as results. All right. Now, still on this place here, what if I want to adjust this more? I can add year. Maybe add year to this place. You can see this data has been rearranged now. It has been reanalyzed according to year. You can see 2021, 22, 23, and 27. I think this is supposed to be 2024. Now, these errors occur in data. That's why sometimes before you start analysis, try and look at your data and see if you can make some adjustments. Maybe this is supposed to be 2024 or even 2023. Okay, but I think someone mistakenly wrote 2073. What if I want to correct this particular data points now? I can just go back to my data. I'm going to find that particular one. One way to do that is I can sort the year. Let's convert this to a table, Control T, and okay. So if I sort this year in order, let's say from smallest to largest, that value is going to appear at the bottom. All right, you see? Wow, how many? So 2027 appeared about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it seems like it's supposed to be 2023. So I'll click on 2023 and apply it. Good. Then after doing that, remember to save. So this has been adjusted. So if I apply a pivot table again, okay, because in the table now I have to highlight the range before applying the pivot table. Okay, so insert. Okay, now let me format by year again. I'll bring year to row. Can you see that we have only 2021, 2022, and 2023? Maybe I want to look at what is units sold. I'll bring it to value. So these are the units sold by these years. We can plot a chart for it. Again, we can see from this chart that more units were sold in 2023. That is why it is good to visualize your data. Can you see that? Remember how big this data looked. From here, we were unable to deduce which particular year had the highest sales. You can't do that from here. But from the pivot chart we have created now, it is obvious that 2023 had the highest amount of sale. Being able to say this about the data is sufficient. Remember when we try to analyze by country. Let me bring country in. Now look at it. We have country and year. Now you see that I think, let me just analyze by country. So I'm going to remove the year. So remove. Now by country, we see that Italy had the highest amount of sales. And then by year, we saw that 2023 also had the highest amounts of sales. So depending on what you want to achieve, If this is a data that was sent by a client, sometimes they come with instruction. Maybe there is a particular thing the owner wants to find out. Maybe the clients want to find out which year did we make the highest sales. You know that you're analyzing by year, or which products are sold orders. If that is the case, I'm just going to come here, bring my electrical electronics into this as is here. Yeah. And maybe remove subsidiary and country. Just remove this. Okay. So you see that TV and entertainment sold best. And that is followed by floor care appliances. So depending on what you want to achieve, once you subject it to pivot table analysis, you can be able to deduce some insights from that given data. Mind you, it will be impossible for you to look at this original data here and tell us that TV sold best. Remember, it's trying to, in the pivot table, it uses sum of units sold. Can you see that? Okay. Let's also check revenue. I'm going to bring revenue into value and remove volume. Once you click, you remove. Again, you can see that television made the highest amount of revenue. Of course, it sold best. It is expected to have the highest revenue, but not always true, because there are some products that their unit costs are very small. So they may sell so much, but the ones with higher unit costs may still outsell them. But in this case, television sold out more, and the profits or the revenue generated from these sales was also highest in television. Now, if you want to advise this company, you find out that you tell them to invest more in sales of television and all that. And some of these other products that did not sell out very well, perhaps more campaign and advert should be run on them so that it gets out there in the market. This is the beauty of data analysis, okay? When you have a big amount of data as this, can you be able to make some meaning into it? As simple as telling us that television sold best is a good form of analysis. It doesn't always have to involve you writing series of code just to still say the same thing at the end of the day. Sometimes it involves you just subjecting the data to pivot table analysis and then drawing your conclusion based on the responses or the outputs of the charts and graph. So that is it for today. We've been able to see how to analyze data using pivot analysis. Remember, we said for you to do that, if it's in a table, you have to highlight the table firstly. Highlight the entire table. That is, if you've converted it to a table, you have to highlight the entire table. Then you come to insert, then you click on pivot table and okay. So in the pivot section here, you start adjusting. We've been working with rows. Let's try column. What if I move my years to column? You see how it's highlighted now? Then I'll bring my revenue to value and maybe sales to value also. So it all depends on what you want to achieve. I prefer my data points, my categories being row-wise. So let's say I want to analyze by year. I'll just bring year to row, 2 different years. We have months. Wow, this is interesting. So this data also has months, okay? What if you want to find out which month sold highest? Maybe I can just leave year and work with months and then look at revenue by month, move revenue to value. I can't see much, so I've just plotted it as a chart. Wow. Now, can you see this? That December has sold every other month, maybe due to, of course, rush. People want to buy a lot of stuff during festivity period in December. So December sold so much. Now, what is the implication of this result? It means that this company should make as much products as possible in the month of December, because that is when their market is at boom. All right. So remember, after plotting this pivot chart, you go ahead and format it a little by clicking on these buttons here. These buttons, mind you, because this pivot chart is interactive, you can use this to adjust Let's I want to look at just January, February, March. Okay. Can you see that? It's going to adjust and show me just for these 3 months. Now, between January and March, you can see that March sold best as compared to the other 2 months. But I want to see all months. So, yeah. So when I'm done working with those buttons, all I have to do is right click on them and hide all field buttons. Now, if I want to export this to a different place, I will just copy it with Control C. Maybe open a new sheet and yeah, paste it here. In our next class, we're going to be learning how to use these pivot charts to build an interactive dashboard. What is interactive dashboard? Let's say 3 to 4 different charts that you use things like slicers to operate them, or let's say once you want to find out if what happened to one can affect what's happening at the other. Let's say you're looking at revenue and unit sold at the same time. If revenue is changing, is unit sold also changing? So that's what we'll be doing in our next class. For today, all you have to do is, I'm going to make this data available. You're going to go ahead and work with a given set of instructions for your practical to develop pivot table and pivot charts. And that is going to be the end of this class. All right. So I'm going to come to the chat now. Do you have any question? Do you have whatever? You can unmute yourself if you want to speak. All right. If you have a question, we'll have just 2 minutes, 45 seconds to take that. Okay. If you understood, just say we are good to go. Just write good to go in the comment section. If you're good with what we did this evening, just comment good to go. And I want to especially thank everyone who made it to this class. You know, a lot of persons were here the first day and even the second day. This is the second week. Remember, if you're to score 2/4, it's just an average score. You have to continue to the end. We still have a lot to learn. We're just taking it one step at a time. All right. So that at the end of these 4 weeks, you don't have to be a pro in Excel, but please, you should find your way around Excel. From there, you can learn more. I'm going to make some resources available for you where you can also go and learn more to add up to what you're going to achieve from this class. But most importantly, what you're going to achieve from this class is after this class, if you have a CV, update it that you can do data analysis using Excel. And if they want to try you, they should send data to you. All right. Even as simple as preparing a table in Excel is part of using Excel. Some persons cannot even prepare table. But you right now, you can prepare table, you can do simple calculations, you can plot graphs, you can do filter and all that. And right now, you can even work with pivot table, which is a professional tool embedded in Microsoft Excel. So thank you very much for tuning in and for taking this course. And I will see you in our next class. Till then, I remain my humble self, Dr. KD, saying bye-bye.